Are you good at using images to express your ideas? Do you have a unique artistic style? Are you organized and methodical with attention to detail? If this draws your attention, then you may want to trace your way to a career as an illustrator. Illustrators create drawings and images to portray their own or other people's ideas using a variety of media. They may create illustrations with software or by hand for use in reports, packaging, games, magazines, storybooks, websites, advertisements, and other forms of visual communication. We met with an illustrator working here in Alberta to outline some of the finer details of this creative career.
Hi, my name is Taylor and I'm an illustrator. Illustrators research and create drawings and images to visually portray their own or other people's ideas. I illustrate for children's books, magazines, editorial, and greeting cards. As an illustrator, there's so many different directions that you can go and varieties of places you can work. You can go with children's books, you can do editorial, there's fashion illustration, there's medical illustration. There is a wide range of directions you can go. Some of the different mediums that you can use as an illustrator is graphite pencils, pencil crayons, acrylic paints, oil paints. A lot of people bring it to digital and they work on tablets, but most of the time it starts with a pencil. In the morning when I come to work, I usually start with communicating with clients through emails, figuring out what steps we're going to take today, and start the day with drawing. It's always the first step of just roughly getting out ideas onto paper and seeing what we come up with. Once you get a client as an illustrator, the first step is always trying to get into their head to know what they want. That's probably the hardest part, learning how to take people's words and put them into art. And that just takes lots of trial and error. You're going to have to draw way more things than you think to get to the final. You paint about 10 rough drawings and the client will pick 4, and from those 4 you make 2, and from those 2 you make 1 perfect one. I'm personally a traditional illustrator, so I prefer to do everything by hand, pencil, paint onto a piece of paper as much as I can, and I scan it in, bring it onto the computer, and that's where I kind of clean it up and make sure everything looks perfect before we send it off to print. Some of your duties as an illustrator would include, firstly, research, looking around and seeing what other people have done. There is lots of email and client communication. Of course, oh totally, I can add a little treat. Lots of preparation and learning your mediums, because there's so many different types of mediums that you can use to create your illustrations. Preparing your work for print, knowing how to use digital to make your work excel or look great on paper. As an illustrator, for sure some skills that you're gonna need are working with people. Communication skills is probably number 1. Some color theory is pretty important, and learning how to create composition. You'll also need some self-motivation and an independent working style. There's lots of deadlines involved in the job, so time management is very important. Many illustrators work from home in their in-home studios or in their out-of-home studios, but it's usually self-driven in their own spaces. It can be a high-pressure environment because we often deal with many different deadlines for many different projects at the same time. Although there's no formal education needed to become an illustrator, lots of illustrators have their post-secondary in fine art or graphic design. I went to school for 4 years with a Bachelor of Design majoring in illustration. I would highly recommend becoming an illustrator because it's a very fulfilling job. It's exciting to be published, to be making children's books for kids to read, to really have endless possibilities. I'm the most proud of my job when I see my illustrations in print at a store or see children reading the children's book I've illustrated. It's very cool to see the impact that my art can bring to other people.
Successful illustrators have good communication skills and the flexibility to work with other people's ideas. They must be able to understand, capture, and represent concepts quickly. Illustrators are self-motivated and have good time management skills. If all of this sounds like you might be drawn to a career as an illustrator. To get a clearer picture of this occupation, including training requirements and salary ranges, go to the occupational profile on the ALICE website. While you're there, check out some related occupations, including animator, cartoonist, and graphic designer. Explore the possibilities. Go to alice.alberta.ca.